Welcome to Outer Rim News. I'm your host, Dave. This is my show, Scum and Villainy. Let's talk about my review of the first three episodes of Obi-Wan Kenobi. Let's get started. This is my second episode, and I want to remind all those viewing, if you are a Star Wars fanatic that is an encyclopedia of Star Wars, I welcome you to correct me in the comments on anything I say or give me your opinion. I want to grow as a Star Wars fan. I am committed to it, and I want to be better at it. And I would love your input as much as you can. No criticism is Any criticism is good criticism for me. Be be kind, but anyways, that's what I wanted to tell you as I grow as a Star Wars fan. So let me go through my notes of things that I may have liked or changed my mind on after watching the three episodes of Obi-Wan Kenobi. Number one is the glaring, and this is something I kind of changed on. I had said um I liked how Obi-Wan was written, and I've changed my mind on that because there is a reoccurring theme that they have tore down the original characters, like Han Solo and Leia were divorced, and their son became who he became, and there always seems to be like they're tore these characters down. Leia stayed strong still, but everybody else, like Han Solo, went away, and then Luke Skywalker became a hermit in a far off island, and now Obi-Wan, it has a glaring contradiction in his plot line, and that is when he's talking to Owen and he says we the plan was to train him in the Force, and Owen says no, he doesn't want that to happen. But he spent the last 10 years losing his Force ability and became like Luke Skywalker, the Hermit. Um, and that I think is rubbing fans, these hardcore, diehard fans, the wrong way. Others may be pandering to Disney and saying how much they love this character. We love it because it's Ewan McGregor and he does a great job and he's a great actor and he is making do with what he has. And if this was a standalone movie all on its own with no canon, showing the arc of a guy destitute, complacent in his life, to becoming, to reclaiming his former glory, great. But here he says, I'm going to train Luke Skywalker. That's the plan. And what ends up happening is he can't even use the Force himself at will. He can't even talk to Qui-Gon Jinn, which it'll be a big disappointment if he doesn't make an appearance in this first six episodes. He in Yoda, one of the last things he says to Obi-Wan in the prequels was, I'm going to teach you how to talk to him. So that's what I'm anticipating. They'll really miss out if they don't do that. But that's my plot. That's the big plot hole. That's I've talked about suspending your disbelief. This is the one I have to really suspend, is that he was planning on training Luke but forgot how to use the Force. But he does use the Force to save Leia. It was a build-up moment. It was great. He saved Leia from falling. That's the plot hole. Now, another situation is he ran from Vader, and I'm trying to decide whether or not he ran to stall for time or if he ran out of fear. It kind of seems like fear. I'll talk about the lightsaber and Vader's walk through the village a little bit later. Now, Reva, the third sister, a lot of people imagine that she was one of the Padawans. There's an African American girl that was a Padawan in the opening scene of the first episode. I'm assuming that was her because it makes sense. And I think a lot of people agree with that. The Order 66 came about in the Grand Inquisitor was opening like the first season of Rebels. This is supposed to take place 5 years before 5 years before. So I'm a little fuzzy on when the actual Inquisitors were created. They were created by Darth Vader from former Jedi. Okay, so it is thought that that Vader had either recruited or tortured or or just flipped uh, Riva, and the other Inquisitors looked down upon her because of they were original Inquisitors, and she was recruited later, and how she came about because she probably wasn't a Jedi because she was a Padawan, and they call her that she was a street gutter. There's a little street gutter rat. It's really hard to understand the timeline there, and I only assume that's why they hold her in disregard. But and then she's got that grudge happening, but she's got that relationship with Vader. It's but there the stories there. I want it more uncovered. I want to go back and watch Rebels eventually. I'm not there yet. I'm still watching Clone Wars in the middle of the third season. So I'm gonna go back and watch all that, and it'll probably make more sense to me. But this is taking place 10 years before Rebels took before the New Hope. Rebels took place starting at 5 years before the New Hope, building up to the Rebel Alliance. Right? These are the rebels. This is the rebels fighting the Empire. This is before the Death Star. Right? Now, if you look at the end of the prequels, the Death Star was starting to get built, and there was Darth Vader and there was the Emperor Palpatine. So it's really the Star Wars is really struggling to maintain a timeline here, and I think there's been a lot of complaints that they don't have Star Wars diehard historians researching and teams of researching so they can put all this canon and timeline together. They're afraid that they're going to go erase canon to make these shows work. And all they had to do was research the timelines, research, what went on in these shows and went on in the movies, went on in the books and the comic books that they called canon, and just make it work and fit it in there. The last thing we wanted was laziness going into a series that we thought we were going to love wholeheartedly. Now I'm entertained by it. I go into these shows and movies, and I'm not the big Disney hater when it comes to this. I look at it as if I didn't have Disney, I wouldn't have more Star Wars. There was such a long gap between the movies in the original trilogy, the prequels, and then the sequels, that I don't mind having more Star Wars, and I love Mandalorian so far, and I love the episodes the Mandalorian was in, and Boba Fett. He kind of stole the show of Boba Fett. So there are some good things. Hopefully they do things right. And one of the things is make this timeline work, make the storylines work together. Another thing about Reva is she didn't use the mind reading force on Owen when sure enough she could have found Obi-Wan Kenobi right away, but that'd have been inconvenient, right? So she can use this amazing force, but she doesn't use it when she could have. So kind of letting things slide there. The fifth brother, I really like him. I love the actor, and I loved him. He was one of my favorite characters from Fast and the Furious when he played that. He expects to be next in line. Why? Where is this buildup of why? Is he the second command of Grand Inquisitor? Yeah. So another thing there is did they really the Grand Inquisitor He dies in Rebels. It takes place 5 years before A New Hope, and that is expected to be canon. So he has to live. So, and that's also been a habit. Darth Maul lives. Palpatine lives. If you're a Sith Lord, you live. Apparently, you come back and you live. So you that's what you got to expect if you maintain that that timeline. Other characters seem to not acknowledge his death in the show, the Grand Inquisitor. It's just like the fifth brother says, "I'm the next in line." Reva has that feeling she needs to be the next person. She deserves it. But no one's talking about how Reva killed him. Darth Vader would know. He's got those abilities to understand that she killed the Grand Inquisitor. No one's questioning it. It just happens, and then they move on. So if I'm missing something, or maybe I looked away on the TV, but why aren't they acknowledging that someone killed the Grand Inquisitor, and especially it was Reva? So that's where they lose me a little bit on that. I don't mind that she killed him, or she needed him out of the way. They really want her to be a big part of the show, and they had to kill the Inquisitor to do it and get him out of the picture. But he lives to be in Rebels. You gotta explain that to me, Star Wars, Disney. Come on. Bail Organa, sorry. He goes on to be like the leader of the Rebel Alliance, right? In Rebels, and he's big. He's a big deal in the and he's a big deal in the other cartoon, which is, oh gosh, it just escaped me. The Clone Wars. So he's a big deal in the Clone Wars. He's a big deal in Rebel Alliance. I'd like the fact that we're gonna hopefully we're gonna find out how he became that. But shouldn't he already be that? I don't know. They to have the Clone Wars, the Clone Wars and the Rebel Alliance. He doesn't seem as important in this yet in this show. They don't show his importance yet, and him to become the leader of the Rebel Alliance, a leader in the Rebel Alliance. I don't think they made him a strong enough a character, so missed out a little bit there. But I love his relationship he has with Leia. Like it's the dad or the girl dad, where he talks to her about spaceships and things like that. So I love that relationship that they have. There was that gap I talked about in the first show. Is she goes and he goes and asks Obi-Wan, and he even goes to Tatooine. This is supposed to be a secret, right? And he gets Ewan McGregor, Obi-Wan, to go after Leia when he's supposed to be protecting Luke. Didn't he have people who could do it? And why? And how would he trust Obi-Wan, who can't even use the Force anymore, to go save his daughter? Wouldn't there be better characters that he already knows, like Ahsoka, that could go after? So they get a lot of gaps here, a lot of plot holes. It seems to be just a lot of plot holes in the show. Again, I'm entertained by it. I'll live with it, and maybe this all will get wrapped up. But I think they maybe have rushed this project. And considering it's only 6 episodes, yeah, that kind of rubs me the wrong way. They didn't. It's like they didn't want to invest too much into this show. But anyways, don't want to harp on it too bad. The Darth Vader village scene, I saw someone say that, hey, he was doing it to intimidate Obi-Wan Kenobi. That's why he was just dragging this woman behind him, killing that little kid before his daddy got that, his dad apparently. And don't they have windows in these worlds? Doesn't it rain there? That he's just in his like house, and the guy, he force chokes him out of a window. Anyways, again, suspend your disbelief. Apparently, they don't have windows there. So he pulls them out. The kid comes out. He kills the kid and grabs that old lady, or I don't know if it's old. It was dark. And drags behind her or behind Darth Vader, and that was all to intimidate Obi-Wan to put fear in him. My impression is that this was foreshadowed in the first episode when you meet the Grand Inquisitor. He gives this long diatribe about how they hunt themselves, and all they have to do is, threaten somebody, and they're just gonna their code is gonna automatically kick in to protect the innocent, and that's when. And I like that what Reva did is she took that knife and she just whipped it at the guy's head, and boom, that's how she caught the Jedi, is that they can't help themselves. They're gonna protect the innocent, and Darth Vader stops. He senses Obi-Wan Kenobi. They did a good job of that. And then he goes, well, I'm gonna grab this guy out of this window and force choke him and kill his kid. I'm dragging this lady. It's to get Obi-Wan to come out of hiding. That was my impression. It wasn't to intimidate him. Although that's, second, a second thing that would happen because of that. But it was because he wanted to get him out of hiding. And that was foreshadowed from the first episode. And Darth Vader is the one who trained these guys. So that all makes sense to me. Tia saves Obi-Wan a couple of times. I loved her from Game of Thrones. I loved her character in Game of Thrones. And I think there's a skit she does with the with a Batman. There's a Batman video that I think Funny or Die does, and she's one of the characters in it. It's really funny. She's a pretty good actress, and she saves Obi-Wan a couple of times. It's just Obi-Wan's a weak character and needs to be saved by Tia, who we have no idea who she is, and it's part of a resistance. So she's a great character. I want Obi-Wan and her to be equal. You know, just and forgive me if I don't know who Tia is, if she's in canon. I know Obi-Wan has a girlfriend in that I think comes out in the Clone Wars. So I haven't got there yet. So forgive me and add it to the comments. Add Anakin Skywalker, I thought would have more time, like Hayden Christensen, but he appears as a mirage in the third episode. It was nice to see him, but he's like way far away, and that's it. Of course he's Darth Vader, but that's not his voice, obviously. Now with the news that Obi-Wan's second season is going to happen because this has been a successful opening. I hope this remains the Obi-Wan show, and Ewan McGregor's the star, and his character develops. He becomes a strong character again instead of this destitute man that doesn't know how to use the Force anymore. Again, if this was a standalone show, it would make a lot more sense. But he was intending on training Luke Skywalker. I hope it doesn't become the Leia coming of age story. Or the Leia, sorry, I said Leia. Leia coming of age story. And Reva will remain a villain. It appears Disney is really invested in her preemptively. Protecting her, and it's now a thing, about the all the nasty comments she got in her DMs, and they preemptively strike that if you criticize her, you're the R word, and that's rubbed a lot of people the wrong way because the vast majority of Star Wars fans are not like that. I hope they shine a more light on her backstory and clear that up, and I think people would enjoy her character more instead of, oh, she's evil and she likes to kill. That's it. Now, I mean, fans want this to be the Obi-Wan story and not the Riva redemption story, and that seems to be where you think it's going, because she was, Padawan. She got turned against the memory of Obi-Wan Kenobi because she was left to die as a Padawan in Order 66. That's our assumption so far, and that's why she hates Obi-Wan, because he wasn't there for her, and probably got tortured and brainwashed by Darth Vader. Yeah, and Obi-Wan did that to Darth Vader, so there's probably sympathy to Darth Vader from her because they have equally bad memories of Obi-Wan. So it looks like we're headed to a Riva redemption story if she turns to the light side at the last moment again before she dies, or she becomes the good guy, and we got a bait and switch happening. And that's what a lot of Star Wars fans are afraid of, that it's a bait and switch again, and it's going to be the Riva story. I don't think they'd do that. That'd be really bad. It's Obi-Wan Kenobi, and it needs to be his story. If they sprinkle in Leia growing up, they develop Riva more, that's fine. But this needs to stay the Obi-Wan story. Now that's it. This is Scum and Villainy. I'm your host, Dave. Please like, please subscribe, ring the bell so you don't miss an episode. Make sure you're commenting, set me straight, correct me if I'm wrong. I want to hear your opinion. If you like the show, I understand. If you don't like it, I understand. I want to hear both viewpoints. I'm here to be entertained. I want to also entertain. I'm going to develop as a YouTuber, so thank you for sticking with me. See you next time. Talk to you later.